Welcome back to the Contacts Coaching Podcast. We are here with Allison and Jake Johnson, the head basketball coaches at Vanden High School girls basketball program, where they have been doing this for quite a long time. And we'll let them tell that story. But coaches, thanks for being on here today. Appreciate you making the time.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Now, Coach Wilson was telling me that we were a little bit nervous, so let's get over that here by allowing you to just talk about yourself, right? And everybody likes doing that. How did we get into this space? How did we cut our teeth coaching? What was the process like for getting that first job? Any shifts along the way? What was the youth experience like as you transitioned out of high school into college? And now we're on the other side of the bench, just from the beginning until now. How did we get here?
We met in 98, and so I graduated from Davis in 99. So
Go Ags, baby. Let's go.
So as soon as I graduated, we moved in together, and then a couple months later, we were married. And it was right after we were married when Kenny called, one of his best friends from high school, Kenny Krim, Vanden alum, called and Jake and just said, why doesn't Allison apply for the Vanden job? And I'm 22 years old. We just bought our first house, just got married. That's the last thing I was thinking of. And so I called Vanden, and they'd already hired a varsity coach. And so the varsity coach hired me as his JV coach. And so I coached 3 years of JVs. And then when he stepped down, I applied and did varsity. I never had any intentions of being a teacher or a coach. I don't know. That wasn't the goal, but we met through basketball. And then my affiliation with Vanden is through Jake. I went to Justin Siena in Napa. I'm from Vallejo. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Huh? Yeah. Being from Vallejo and then going to school in Napa kind of explains a lot. But yeah, so that's how we got here.
All right.
And stumbled upon it.
And you've been there as the varsity coach since, what's my math on like this? So 2002?
2004 is when we started varsity.
Okay, 2004. And Jake, how did you arrive here? We got her story. What's yours?
Same. I'm not going to repeat the beginning about how we met. All that, but I joined on with her when she took the job as I was more of just help, because like she said, our first 3 years of JV, we're in that league where I couldn't go on the road.
Yeah, road trips were 2 hours away.
That was so I couldn't commit full time to that. And then when she took varsity, we were in a closer league. I worked graveyard, so I was able to still work. I was all in at that point.
In my second year at JVs, I was pregnant, and he wanted to wrap me up in bubble tape. So that's when he got more involved, because I was still doing drills.
Our son was born the day after our last game.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so we just had to put a pin in the UC Davis thing. So I tell my daughters all the time that not everybody can be an ag, only the special ones, because they had to go to Cal Poly. And so I celebrate that fact. So that means you automatically get extra credibility. But so you didn't expect to get into coaching, you didn't expect to get into teaching, you end up being a JV coach for 3 years, and then I don't say you get promoted, but you become the varsity coach. And I'm always curious in that moment, right? I'm taking over program. What is it that you realized right away that you needed to figure out? Because you had 3 successful years, you thought you knew, and then you realize you don't. And then this was designed originally to help not just inexperienced coaches, but people that may be in a transitional phase of taking over program or moving back into an assistant role. And I like to try to help them identify, hey, you need to do these 3 things before anything else happens, or you're just setting yourself up for failure. So what are those things as you think back 25 years, 21 years, I guess, this and this was a disaster?
Honestly, when she took the JV job, it was a disaster.
There you go. Let's start with that one.
We had 2 preseason wins against the same team. Like, I've never sweat so much in my life.
We basically had girls that were just playing basketball,
just sweet kids,
like almost recreation.
Oh.
And she came in, boots on the ground, full-fledged. It was a shell shock because
for both of us.
Yeah, because she only knew one way, is to coach. So from going from JV to varsity, she already was running her JV program like a varsity program. So it was honestly, the transition from JV to varsity was really easy. Yeah, it was the beginning, which was hard.
Good. Let's talk about that. What did we learn?
It's when you watch coaches take over a program and they want to wait out seniors, or I mean, all the people that I've looked up to. And I was 22 or 23. I wasn't waiting out anybody. And so if my JV team is better than all 8 returning varsity players, then that's the conversation we're going to need to have. And I want them to be better. I want them to be all in. But the fact of the matter is they have one summer to be better than the freshmen and sophomores that I just coached. Because we could go ones right now and my little ones are going to win. So that was obviously not well received. And my approach is a little...
It was pretty straightforward.
And you knocked on the door and delivered it that way? Hey, let me tell you something.
She had a meeting with everybody that wanted to play basketball. There was literally about 7 or 8 returning varsity players.
Supposedly, yeah. That
were going to come back. After her speech, 1 came back the next day. So our first varsity year, we had 8 girls.
8 girls, 1 freshman, 1 returning player, and 6 returning. And we went 24-4 with that team.
How many?
I got criticized for being a school at 1,500, and the article came out that said 8 is great, because I was like, people go 8 deep on a roster anyways, and I wasn't pregnant that year. I could play, he could play.
We both could still play at a high level, so we were good with the scrimmaging.
So that was when you're young, you can do that. Now I do it now. I'd foul the hell out of my players, but I'd be like football, offense or defense.
All right, so you take that and you plant that seed, and now you're talking about program building, right? Because you can't just have an 8-person program. So how do you now take that first year experience as you get into the varsity seat and now start applying some of those things to build the funnel?
It started with the way she structured our program from the get-go. She would have a meeting with everyone, like parents, players that wanted to play, and she would start her meeting by saying, this program's not for everyone. Like, basically, it's going to be if you're not in it, if you're out here just to try to get a letter, you're probably not going to make it. And she just she kept it up front with them, so they didn't come in. She has literally almost a 0 tolerance for missing practice, being late to practice. She almost ran it like a military. But by her laying in the foundation like that, and the players started laying the foundation after that.
So it pays dividends now. There's so many conversations I don't have to have now, 20 some odd years later, that were tough in the beginning. I'm a white female head coach at that time, and I'm 22 years old. I would irritate the hell out of myself. You know what I mean? But if you know if you ever experienced, like my college coach, Kim Mitchell-Gervasoni, she kicked our butt and there were no excuses. Thunder and lightning bolts coming down, and we're still outside having to make times and stuff. I was like, we're going to die out here. So you learn real quick, like how tough you can be when you're put in situations. And I want my girls to be loving and exactly who they're, smart and articulate. But I want them to activate their voice and know that they almost always have more to give. And it's that toughness that's going to get you through life. Basketball is just the vehicle that we're using, right? And whether it's to pay for college or whether it's to learn resiliency or, how to pick yourself up or how to rely on someone to do that, all those things that we put in place in the beginning and paid the price for. There's always a price to pay, but there's a price to pay one way or another. And I wasn't willing to pay the other price. So if the price was ruffling feathers and being on an island, that's what we were willing to do. And I think it still pays dividends today.
20 years in, and you're a teacher at the school, how have you learned to be more tactful in applying that approach? One of the things that Eddie and I talk about all the time is that we're going to authentically be ourselves, but there's also shrapnel that comes from that as you move up the proverbial social ladder, that doesn't always work. What have you learned? How has your approach changed over those 20 years to achieve the same results? And I'm not going to talk about wins and losses, but what you just said, it's a vehicle to teach these other things. But talk a little bit about that.
It's more really the way it's a balance, because she's up, I'm down. If she's down, I'm up. So we're not both hammers at the same time. So it keeps a balance. And if she feels like she literally can sense when she's okay, I'm about to really go in, she'll back off and just like completely back off, because she doesn't have the switch to like, she's not good. She's gotten, I want to say softer, because she hasn't.
I've gotten older. I'm 49 now. Yeah. That's what's happened. 20 some odd years have gone by. That's how tact infiltrates your life. Tact infiltrates your life with age. I'm 49. I haven't found Jesus. I already knew Jesus. Like I don't see a therapist. I don't have this like great like business card brochure. But when you get older, in the beginning, I would be mad at everything. Everything. The way they folded their socks. One group ordered Jamba Juice before a game. Healthy Jamba Juice. And I flipped my lid and started 5 posts. Now I have girls having an ice cream cone at McDonald's and I'm getting them napkins. So I am softer now. But it's all the things that was put in place 20 some odd years ago. Tact, I have a certain amount of energy every day. I have a certain amount of intelligence every day. And where do I want to spend it? And when I realized that my husband and my children were getting my crap leftovers, I had to reevaluate things. Because I come home and I sense it happened the other day. My children are grown, but it happened the other day where I had a meltdown where I realized that if my kids were younger, I would have came home and not been an attentive mom. I had nothing left to give anybody. Luckily, we just have 2 dogs at home and the kids are grown, so the dogs still love me. But it's realizing that my husband and my children got my leftovers, and I had to quickly, or not so quickly, but I had to learn how to redistribute my energy. And so redistributing my energy came tact and lessons learned.
I'm gonna go back to what Jake started to say is that she's gotten soft, and I don't know that Eddie and I joke as well, like our former players tell us that, and I don't know that's true. You just gain wisdom, which only comes with time, and you realize what hills you're willing to die on. And so what are those now? Where in year 1, your non-negotiable list was 50 items long. What is it now?
Yeah, it looked like a Santa Claus scroll, like super long. Now it's really like picking up the ball with 2 hands. Let one of my players pick up the ball with 1 hand. I'll still lose my mind just like I did 20 some odd years ago. If you do this, what does this mean? You look ridiculous. You're coming out. So there's a lot of things that are still like non-negotiables for me, whether I think it's important to our team or their future or just as a person. There's still like a handful of things that I can't ever see folding. And a lot of it came from my college coach. So whenever my players like wanted after the season, when they start joking about things, I'm like, call my coach up in Washington, go talk to her because it's in me. And I'm proud of that. I am proud of that. So I am proud of those things that like there's certain things that if a Vanden girl graduates and plays at the next level, there's certain things that I know without a shadow of a doubt that they'll have. They're going to be mentally tough. They're going to be a good teammate. They're going to be unselfish. They're going to be responsible for their talent. They're going to be able to defend. They're not going to get punked. So there's a lot of things that I know as humans, basketball or not, that they're going to walk out of here with. And that's what helps me sleep at night. I don't have any problems sleeping because I know those things are happening, if that makes sense. Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. Oh.
That's me, not you. I put it on mute while you're talking so that the noise back here doesn't get nowhere. Not your fault. Jake, do you have any thoughts on that as you've observed this journey and been a front row participant?
Yeah, just the program in itself needs that part of her that was the hammer back then. And it's nice to see that she does not have to be that all the time anymore, because it would literally wear her down. Like at the end of the season, she would literally every year she have to reevaluate if she could do it another year because she put that much into it. Because it was, like you said, like the comment you made about dying on the hill. She's gonna die on all the hills. And she wasn't gonna make it that way. And she knew it. She's like, I can't live like this. Like everything can't be a problem. And everything was a problem. But her growth in that area has been amazing to see because it's allowed her to stay in this long. Because the way and the passion she has for coaching and the love she has for these kids, like these literally become our daughters. And she really hurt every year when seniors graduate. They're her.
I didn't cry.
So if you can't die on all the hills and you're saying that we don't have to deal with the stuff we had to deal with 20 years ago, part of that is culture. Part of that is letting go of some things and not feeling that you have to win every battle, and you're giving a little bit to the kids so that they can be themselves rather than being pounded into this structure or frame that you think they have to be. Can you talk about a little of the things you've decided to let go?
Oh, big time. Well, it was me that had to let go. The only thing he had to learn is that girls have to be friends off the court in order to be effective on the court. That's the only thing he had to learn.
Yeah, I didn't I actually was not a believer in that. But I learned very fast that is a fact. And even I just saw the success that came with that. Like girls literally ready to die on the court for each other. And that type of competitiveness, I thought that just was in basketball players. I didn't know that wasn't in everyone, because that's how I was.
We had to teach girls, like, when are we gonna have our first fist fight? And I know I probably shouldn't say that, but I was like, y'all are super polite. I'm like, when are we gonna have our first fist fight? When are someone gonna get after it?
Because girls are so literal. We had to make sure, no, we're not talking about just fighting each other. We're talking about you guys practice so hard and you're being so competitive in practice that you almost go to blows.
So once we had our first tussle, I realized, okay, we're starting to get it. We're starting to get it. But I had to let go of control. So I'm
Talk about that for me, please.
I am a Virgo through and through. I was raised by a criminal defense attorney. So there's a certain things that, just like when you have a child, if I want my kids to go to my in-laws, I can't control everything that's going to happen at my in-laws, right? They might have cookies for breakfast. They might be up all night. So
they might have a Coke.
They might have a Coke in their hands at 2. You know, all those things happen, right? And so do I want to control my son's environment, or do I need a break, or do I have a game, or do I want them to have a relationship with their grandparents? Same thing in coaching. I had to let go of all control, the concept of all control, and pick which parts I want to control over. Academics, how you act, how we behave, certain just intangibles, but offensively. And then the more athletic we got, like in the beginning, we had really good kids that followed directions. So systems were important, and executing systems were important. And then we started to get more athletic. And so I needed to back up. And I was an intellectual player. My husband was super athletic. So we come to the game from 2 different perspectives as far as our strong suits. And we needed less of my intellect and more of his experience on the athleticism side, and merge those 2 concepts. We don't want it just to be a free-for-all, but letting kids like read the game, and not just read and react offense, like the trendy stuff, but like reading advantages, teaching them the actual game. Because following directions is one thing, but then I realized like what happens when a team runs and jumps us or whatever. Then we're so busy trying to run to a spot. So I had to let go of that control very early. And in fact, St. Mary's definitely helped. And so did that freaking Hawaiian team.
Yeah.
When we played them with no shot clock. A team played us with no shot clock, and never again will I experience that. But it taught me a lot. And so just letting the girls learn the game of basketball, where to be and when, and what to do, things like that, and let them you're going to make mistakes. Basketball is a game of mistakes. I can handle a lot of mistakes, especially if we're defending. Those were the things so letting go of control, especially offensively, and then picking and choosing what I wanted that control to take place.
So you mentioned that they're super literal, which is something that I have struggled with in my transition to coaching girls.
Woo.
And we were talking about this last night, where we got a kid that just picks stuff up right away. Tell them once, done, it's embedded, you don't have to tell them again. And then we've got kids I've had for 3 years that still don't get what we're doing. And part of it is stubbornness. Part of it is a lack of trust in that they're worried that someone else isn't going to do what they're supposed to. Part of it is the idea of being literal versus conceptual in how you process. And so I'm curious what secrets you have found to crack through that literalness that gets in the way of them being liberated, so to speak. And the example I'll give you is, ironically enough, my son tends to lean literal, and we were doing something the other day, spent like an hour and a half working on something. We get home, we're talking about this, and he brings up something that was said like 2 years ago. We haven't talked about it. And he's like, yeah, but I'm thinking about this. I'm like, why? We're not even talking.
Where did that come from? Yeah.
And so it was like interesting dynamic that's getting in the way of him acquiring this new understanding. And my assistant was like, look, we're just tinkering, like use that word, right? We're not changing. And so anyway, all of that to frame, like, what have you learned that you can share from a wisdom standpoint of, look, these are the things that we've found to be successful when teaching more conceptual basketball than set plays?
It's like, for example, our team this year is extremely cerebral. I think our team GPA is like a 3.9. You wouldn't necessarily know that with the decisions sometimes we make on the court, So it doesn't always translate. So I think what gets in the way of bright children, and this is not, I don't know, not to, anyways, bright children is perfectionism. This ain't the sport to be a perfectionist in. This isn't calculus. This isn't AP World History. This is messy. So like when you follow a recipe, I don't really cook, but when you follow a recipe, there's like order of operations, right? Do it in order. These are the measurements, make it happen. When I watched my in-laws make gumbo for the first time, nothing was measured. Everything is in this big pot and it's deliciousness, right? So basketball is gumbo. It is a little bit of this, a lot of that, but you know what you're doing at all times, but it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Many kids, especially kids that are rule followers and just really good kids, they're multiple play, but they're rule followers. It's hard for them they want to follow directions and then regurgitate the results as opposed to actually absorb the concept because they're afraid of failure and they're afraid of mistakes. And it's celebrating mistakes and celebrating that growth. I don't know if am I explaining that right? Okay. So that's what it's, I was like that. I never wanted to mess up. But if you look at my youngest, my youngest, she would juggle knives on fire and she thought it would be fun to do. She just always had that spirit about her. But our oldest, our son, he was a rule follower. And so I see it in our own children, I see it in our players, but really just giving kids space to mess up. And as a coach and a parent, I didn't always get that right. And so now being 49 and having grown children, I have all the answers in the world, but it's celebrating the mess, celebrating that's growth, even if it's a mistake. Because I have so much confidence, like that's defensively, that we're going to be okay. So celebrating mistakes, but let's make these mistakes in practice and let's make them going hard. And then let's talk about why that mistake. But don't tell me I give you a scouting report and I tell you that someone's going to back cut on an out of bounds play. And then 2 days ago, we're playing against them. The girl back cuts just like I told you she would. And you come out and say, I didn't see her back cut. No shit. The whole gym saw you not see her back cut. So you have those moments too. So I can't celebrate those moments because I don't quite understand how that happens still. But okay, you messed up. Move on. And so again, the kid that happened to was extremely bright.
So, probably our smartest.
I think that's a 4 or 5. Yeah. I mean, you can have a 4.5 and get cut on when that's in the scouting report. But everyone messes up.
She knew it wasn't a scouting report.
And she knew it came out. So I didn't see her cut. I'm like, the whole gym saw her cut. You don't have to tell me you didn't see her cut. She scored. We know. You couldn't even foul her. But in those moments, when it clearly was a blunder, a preventable blunder, it's thinking about the next play. We'll joke about this later. We'll talk about this later, but think about the next play. You got 1 second to be mad and 1 second to be happy. And we already spent both of those. So we got to move on to the next.
Now, what about competitiveness and playing hard in regards to what you led with? Not that you want to see a fist fight, but one of the things that I also have noticed is that I have to coach effort way more with my girls than with my guys. And part of it is, and we've had this conversation, it's like, we can't simulate what we're going to see with the other teams because you guys won't play hard enough. And,
we had that in the beginning.
And part of it is, I think, attached to the fear of failure and not getting it right. But what have you found that works to break that down and, again, give them the freedom to just compete? And like, that ball's mine. I'm getting that. Like, what are some secrets you have to offer?
My approach wasn't warm and fuzzy, but I called everybody out. If I walk out the door wearing a yellow outfit, I have 3 colors I can wear: black, white, and blue. So if I'm wearing yellow, that means I have no friends. No one told me I shouldn't wear that, right? So same thing in basketball. Like, if you're really their friend, then you're going to push them. If you're really their friend, you're going to lock them up because otherwise they're about to get just rocked and cooked in front of God and everyone. So it's really calling them out. And then everything in practice has a consequence. And that was coming through my college, through his college. The winners, losers, there's a winner and loser in every moment of everything. So everything is competitive. So you're fighting for your life. If we're doing it like a walkthrough, we got to label it a walkthrough. We're walking through this. Okay, now we're going live. Once we go live, everything counts. Offense, defense, deflections, body language, you name it, everything counts. So there's a consequence for everybody. So once there's a consequence, then everyone cares. And then the conceptual part of it is getting them to understand that you're really not a good teammate if you're not pushing her in practice. Because if you ain't pushing her, who else is? The opponent? Then I'm coming back at you. You didn't prepare your teammate. So it's really putting everyone on Front Street about it.
Yeah, I have no issue instigating.
Yeah, he's a huge instigator.
Yeah, and that I appreciate and understand all that. What do consequences look like, right? That I don't love the these kids are different. But at the same time, depending on the pool you're swimming in, the clientele you're working with, the age and stage that they're in, it's 2026 versus 2002, right? Like their motivations are different, right? And so what consequences for behaviors work, what don't, where have you shifted there? Talk to me about that.
Really, it's like it's with the group that you're dealing with. All our groups are different.
You gotta find what their jugular is.
Because you have a girl that can run all day, so freaking punish her with running is not going to do anything to her. And then, but one thing that we've, especially because of the way we run our program, most of the kids pretty much come in pretty competitive. So they want to play and they want to compete. And if you start threatening kids with playing time, a lot of times it gets their attention.
And not threatening.
Basically not even threatening, but just saying, look, if this is how you're going to practice, how can I play you?
I still love you, but
how can I trust you if I can't trust you in practice? You're not even pushing your teammate. So, you're going to turn it on when you get in the game? You're not going to get that opportunity.
You're not going to get the opportunity. Everybody gets that credit card.
You need to show us and convince us that we can trust you. And until then,
those minutes are up to grabs.
You're not going to get in.
And the team knows, whose minutes are up for grabs. And we'll ask, right? I give them 10 seconds to rank themselves. Who's our leading rebounder offensively? Who's our leading blah, blah, blah? Who's our best ball handler? Who's our best this? So it's real honest. And if you think you're high up and the captains come out and they're like, no, you're way too high on yourself or you're way too low on yourself. Those conversations, we've had a both. Those conversations are really, sometimes they're painful because I'm like, how do you think you're that good at that? But it's very informative. You really think you're a shooter or you really think you're a whatever. And who told you that? But show me I'm wrong. What game film were you watching? And so it's really trying to connect their reality with what our reality is, and then game film being the reality, or film from practice. And it's very informative. There's no debate on what we see. And so
we get a lot. Ooh, I didn't even know
I didn't know I did that. I was like,
oh yeah, there it is. And plain sight.
Jake will send it to him, or he'll put it up on the jumbotron, or that's you walking when I said you were walking. Yeah, that's you not boxing out.
So as you think about the culture you're trying to create, what would you say is the best thing you do in your program that has the largest ripple effect on whatever that is? And meaning, if you guys were to retire and go coach in Washington, we're doing this, period, hard stop, doesn't matter how good the kids are on my team, because this is what really embeds the culture we're trying to create. And in this, coaches, I'm really asking for like transferable opportunities for people to steal from you. The culture is such a buzzword and it's different everywhere, but just like things that you do that actually people can adopt and try and see how it impacts their program. Really? For example, my teams, we hug before the game, we hug after the game. Win, lose, or draw. That's how we're going in, we're coming out. It started when I was coaching boys because as they're not taught to emote, so we have to work on some of that stuff. And when I switched to girls, I was really hesitant to do it because I was worried about some boundary stuff. And then ultimately, I didn't really feel as connected as a whole. And I put it to them and I just said, look, this is what I've done for 20 years. You guys be all right with this? And they're like, yeah. And so it's now become a part of what we do.
We actually do that. We high five after every practice, every game.
Every practice after the girls, before they leave, they come and hug us. They go in the locker room. They come out, and it don't matter what kind of practice it was. We could have been on them, but they always come out and hug us. And this has probably been about, I don't know how long it's been like that.
Since before the state team.
Yeah.
Each other too, or just the coaches? Like all of us, everybody got to get everybody.
High fives, everyone. High fives after practice. Everyone high fives everybody. After games, everyone high fives everyone. After practice, the girls come and hug us. And we never told them to.
No,
like I would have told me to years ago. But yeah, that's something that they do.
All right. So what's something that you guys do that was intentional, or you fell into it that you will always do no matter where you're coaching?
Probably holding kids accountable.
Yeah, I would say holding kids accountable, and then making sure the human aspect is always involved, whether Like right now, we have a family member of one of our players who's in the hospital and sick. And on our shirts, you have Jim Capu's badge on here. He was the officer killed in Vallejo in 2011. Daniel over here, he was killed on Easter a couple years back. So bringing the human aspect of carrying forward legacies and what do you want? What do you want your legacy? So like Jim and Daniel will always be a part of wherever I am, and the kids will understand who both of those people are and who they were to me and forever will be. So bringing the human element to, like, I think both of these two people left incredible legacies and their lives were so packed in the limited years they were here. And so what do we want our legacy to be as a team and as a culture? And accountability is huge. When I mess up, I messed up. You better prove it to me, but I can definitely say I'm wrong.
That's something we challenge all our teams at some point during the year. We talk to them about having the 3 seasons, and then what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want your legacy?
What's your mark?
Because this team is not going to be this team
ever again. Even years where we had no seniors. It's
just never know. So what's your legacy going to be? What do you want your mark to be? If you come into this gym 10 years from now, what do you want to, if you know who you're with, significant other, kid, family member, you come to the gym, what do you want to be able to tell that family member about your place in this gym? Because it makes us proud when our alumni come in with family members. And it's like, see those 4 banners? That's me. I was a part of that.
And like our first senior, her son just graduated from Vanden. And talk about feeling old. And that senior was not going to play that year. So that was the year we were 24-4 with 8 players.
And she was one of the only returning seniors. She wasn't going to play.
She wasn't going to play. And I still have a card from her. It's in my closet. It's like one of those life-size cards. And she wrote microscopically in there. Anyways, all the things that she wrote in there, especially on a bad day, I don't even have to read it. I'll just like glance at it. But watching who she is as a woman and then the trickle down, everyone that came behind her, it's fun, especially Christmas time. I feel like a basketball grandmother. Like all the babies are home, and so like all the alumni are home. We get to see everybody, and it's really fun listening.
Come back and share their knowledge.
They pour into the
group. What college life is, and one of the big things that they tell them is, you don't get high school back. Like when it's gone.
And whether you want to play or not, that's irrelevant. You're here now.
Exactly. Whether you have college dreams to play in college ball, whatever. When high school is over, you can't go back. So enjoy it and just leave it out there. Like, don't take anything for granted. Don't take anything for granted. And every player that leaves our program, they always say, I halfway to listen to that, but I totally get it now. And I wish I would have been all in then. So they tell the same thing. It's like, look, I was you. When someone was telling me, oh, enjoy it. Freaking don't take anything for granted. If you have a chance to go hard, don't leave nothing back. Don't look back and say, dang, I should have did this. I should have did that. And because I'm in college and I'm still thinking about a few things that, damn, I wish I would have listened to the girls before me that tried to tell me the exact same thing. So I'm here to tell you, don't be me.
What Eddie tells me that there's not a ton of multi-sport athletes anymore on the Viking campus. And so with that in mind, I imagine it's easy to get tunnel vision of what you're doing just all around basketball. But in my role, there's a lot that you can glean by zooming out a little bit and looking at other disciplines and what they're doing. And so I'm curious over the years if you've been able to pick anything up by watching the other sports, because they're all highly successful, right? And it's like, how have you been able to steal from them? Maybe when you run into a wall and you're not reaching someone, but I just feel there's so much knowledge around us that we're not always willing to take because it's not speaking the same language, so to speak. So I'd love to get your take on that over the years of what you've been able to glean from other disciplines.
It's funny, when we first started coaching, we went to coaching clinics every year for probably first 10?
Yeah, especially the Nike one, Mother's Day weekend in Vegas. That was the dream for us. There's only a couple not running out of there.
One of the things, listening to one of those coaches at that level, one thing I'll never forget him saying is,
the Bob Huggins?
But no, it was, I can't think if it was Chuck Daly or I don't know who it was, but that's how impactful his statement was. I don't even know who said it. I just know it changed my whole mentality, and it put me in the position where my ears are always open. My ego's never too big to learn. And that came from one of them. They say, I get stuff from people all the time.
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm like, ooh, I could do that with this team and I could do this. And we like adopted that. And honestly, when we take something from someone, we name it after
them. We have an offense called Vintage. Got it from Vintage High School. Highlands, John Chambers, Highlands High School.
And that's the whole thing. And it has nothing to do with the success of who that is.
No, it's just about,
that could help my program if I take that and put them, I could see us running that.
I feel like it's like citing our source.
And we do. We learn a lot from both our boys and girls programs, learn from each other. I know I go to a lot of the boy practices and I watch it. And we're real, the coaching staffs are real tight. But I take stuff from him all the time.
Well, and when we were like the way the divisions were, like Division 3 was the toughest girls division. So we were playing St. Mary's Tact High. And so when our season would be over, I would go watch Eddie. Yeah. I would literally sit right behind up in Sac in Rockland. James like hit that, I would ride with Eddie's team and I'd wear red. I'd be sitting right behind the bench, all on his face in timeouts. And I think I went to 1 or 2 of his practices. And so it's picking up, but like the other part, that's the balance, is especially when I first started, everybody had a resume that they wanted to tell me, and everyone wanted to tell me how much they could help me, and everyone had all the answers. And oh, good God, I've never heard so many daddy resumes in my life. But it's until I'm done teaching the girls everything that I know, then back up. And that goes for people I love. I've had to draw boundaries with my own family members, and so it's being mindful and having discernment with how much you listen to. And that was actually my problem. And one of my problems in the beginning is that I did listen too much or cared too much. And so I need to just focus on my gut feeling and trust myself more.
And because we're, like I said, we're constantly learning. We're still learning, even in this 25 years in. We didn't realize that people were watching us.
Yeah.
Because we've had so many coaches ask to come watch us practice. You know what? Someone just the other day asked her to write. Could she write out what
she said? You want our handbook and our manual for like our culture and this. I'm like, shit, I don't know if I've ever written it down. I don't distribute that. It's like show up and find out. I don't know. I don't have.
But one of the things we realized that how many things that we just went head in and we're doing right.
Yeah.
But when you hear from other people saying, like, how did you get your girls that disciplined and on the same page, even like off the court, like the way you walk in the gym, the way you do this, way you do that. I just talked to one of the coaches a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to say who it is, but he was like, I'm lucky if I get a full practice every week.
Which I don't even understand that.
I'm looking at him like, what do you mean a full practice every week? He's, oh yeah, we have players that can't make it because they got dinner with cousins or they got a family dinner or my someone's in town. And I was like, wow, that's a problem, because missing practice and stuff like that and being late, that's not something we've ever had to deal with.
And everything's more important than basketball. Almost everything is more important than basketball. However, this is what you committed to, and this is parameters. You don't have to like it. You have to be all in. You can hate it and be all in. I don't really care how you feel about it, but you have to be all in. And it's teaching that there's a price to pay for everything.
And then it's your decision if you decide that you're going to not prepare to be on time, or if you miss practice, you have to deal with the consequences.
And that is everything from removal to whatever. Yeah.
How have you experienced unexpected violations to those over the years in regards to, you can have all these rules in year one and they evolve over time, but it's, you miss practice, you're off the team, and it's, I was in the emergency room because I got in a car accident.
Right.
And I'm sure something similar has come up that has forced you to reconsider some of the lines you have drawn, to which our former players are now saying, Coach, you've gotten soft. But like ultimately, can you talk about some of the ways in which you actually have had to take a step back and reconsider that stuff and be like, okay, because you already said it, Coach, everything's more important than basketball for the most part.
For the most part,
commitment, but it's commitment you've made, and there are consequences for actions. Okay, cool. And then there's reality, right? So what are some ways in which you can help frame that for people that can't live in the gray, and they hear you saying that, and all of a sudden their team goes from 10-2 and they don't have a season because they don't really understand how to apply that concept? Right. Help me with that.
For example, there's a girl on our team this year. the daughter of a coach. And everyone knows that June is the high school month of high school basketball, and July is AAU, girls basketball, right? Like, you understand high school girls basketball. We're getting ready for all of our tournaments in June, and she takes a week off to go to Disneyland with her family. Okay. It's not our actual season, it's our high school summer season. But what sucks is she was playing well. Now she goes to the end of the depth chart because everyone who's there gets rewarded. And then on top of that, she's out of shape, she's out of sync, she's out of rhythm, and she's a rhythm player. Okay, so there's that. Then you fast forward and it's Thanksgiving week. And again, this is not someone that's new to the program. They're gone for a week. So what do I do with that? Great kid, a family that knows sports, but a family that elected to, instead of making arrangements for her daughter to stay here, elected to remove her for a week. That was a tough one. That was a tough one because my heart wants to keep her. And then my everything that I've done for 25 years says, why would you do that to your kid? Like, why would you put them in that position? And it wasn't unexpected. I didn't add a tournament, or it isn't that. This is the same schedule that's been put out a long time ago. That one was really tough. I was really disappointed in that situation. And I was disappointed that we were put in that situation. And what it ultimately came down to is that she's welcome to return when she comes back. And there's absolutely no promises of playing time after that. And that includes practice. She's hit 4 games for sure. Yeah. And she's, to me, every person's an integral part of the team, whether they're getting 30 some odd minutes or whether they're getting 4 minutes, whatever. That one was really tough for me to swallow. And I love the family, love the kid. I felt really bad for the kid that she was put in that situation. And I was disappointed that happened. So it was this year.
Is there an alternative to that coin where there is a legitimate reason where somebody might miss that? For example, and you might not have an answer for this, might be coming. So my older 2 children one just graduated from college, one's a junior in college. Their fall semester junior year, they both went to Italy to study. And over Thanksgiving break, when the first one was there, we went to visit. Over Thanksgiving break this year, we went to visit. My son, who is a sophomore, went with us. Right. And ultimately, I'm not in that position because we're a boarding school and the dorms are closed at that time. And we do like skill and drill stuff for people that are in town. But if he's playing for you, like, we're going to Italy. Right. You can be mad all you want. You can talk about basketball and how important this is. Going to Italy is probably going to be more of a life experience. How do you navigate what is acceptable versus what's not when you think about your own children, the way in which you're trying to expose them to opportunities that may not come again, versus the 22-year-old self that's, no, you miss, you're dead to me. And one of my best teaching colleagues remembers to this day where he benched a kid as the football coach because the kid went to the World Series. And I don't know why I did that. At the end of the day, I wanted to go to the World Series. And it's like, we couldn't have found a middle ground to help this kid understand it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So anyway, not to throw a wrench in it, but there are times when it might make sense.
And honestly, that was our middle ground, because normally
she would have been gone. She would have been removed.
And because we didn't want to go that route, and we actually thought it was because I think it had something to do with family members.
It had to do with it was important. It wasn't Disneyland, I can tell you that, but it was more of celebrating an older family member.
And we didn't want to just completely derail this girl's experience. Yeah. So we told her kind of what was going to happen, and then when you get back, we're not going to hold it against you.
And this wasn't it wasn't a last. They told us this. Okay, this is the part that the conflict is. Everyone knows when basketball season is. I send it out from November all the way through the state championship. That's right. Thanksgiving doesn't change. Christmas doesn't change.
That's right.
Valentine's Day. Don't people even celebrate that? But It's all the days ahead of time. Yep. And so the family did not tell us last minute. They told us from
this is coming.
You know what I mean? And there's more factors that I didn't say because I don't want to.
No, it's not. Yeah, that's not important. I understand all that. I mean,
but so yes, it probably isn't as cold as I'm saying it.
Yeah, because when it came down to it, we sat down, and that was
as a human, I'm okay with her going. As her coach, I have to have a balance.
Yeah.
that's really what it came down to. And
really,
that was the middle ground.
And we felt like we had to do that because we didn't want to open the door.
Yeah, for sure.
For all of a sudden now everyone has vacations and stuff, and then
100%. No, and I hear you, and I think most of us do. And I think
on the JVs. There's more leeway on the JVs. Varsity, you've been here for 2 years or 1 year, or you know what you're getting into. And so that's why you have spring break. That's why you have August. That's why you have all the different times that I can't have control of your entire life. But November through March, this is what basketball dictates. And so
I'm also hearing you say that you were the middle ground and you've grown in that space where they'd have been gone before. And it's this is a situation that's unavoidable in their mind. And it's not flippant. We're not going to Disneyland. It's not, I'm not going out to dinner for my birthday. It's pre-planned. Cool. We'll talk about it and we'll see what happens on the back end. Okay. Go ahead, coach. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and she's gotten more, I'm not going to say more flexible because it's not that. Her players are really, she's open to her players to come and talk to her.
Yep.
And if a player has a conflict, if there's something we can do to help,
I'll schedule things
like
around
the schedule, so it makes it so they can still handle that, she'll do that.
So we have a junior that was a varsity softball player as a freshman. Top four batting lineup. She's a total stud softball player, which we don't normally have here.
Yep.
And I didn't pull up for varsity for playoffs as a freshman because I knew she was a varsity candidate for softball. And so I told her, I said, I'm not pulling you up because I want you to start softball because I think you're making varsity. And so her sophomore year, I said, okay, do you want to come up for playoffs? Because I want you to come up, or do you want to go straight to softball? Softball's her ticket.
Yep.
So those are conversations I wasn't in a position to even have before, but that's truly what's best for her. Softball's her ticket.
Yeah.
And this year there was 3 weekends in November. I knew in January that there's 3 weekends in November. She had softball tournament. I'm good with that because that's for her future. And so that's the flexibility I think you're talking about. Or
yes.
It's getting to my bandwidth too. It's not just basketball, but I can't open it up. I don't feel comfortable opening it up because everyone's got a good story, but it's the reality of things. And also we're supportive. We go to her softball games or whatever the situation may be.
If you didn't, she wouldn't be playing.
She wouldn't be playing. And really to me, it helps her as a softball player to play basketball. Yep. And I love her as a kid. So I love she's a great kid.
I think what's happened, and I appreciate that you shared that story, because again, like at a smaller school, I need all of our best athletes to play everything. And I've got 16 girls, 13 are 3-sport athletes, the other 3 are 2-sport athletes. And I had a kid miss our game last week because she was at Texas A&M she's going to play SEC softball. And ultimately, I can be mad about it, or I can understand as the AD, this is what I preach, and this is the deal I'm making, right? And I had another kid miss for a lacrosse tournament. There are these priorities that they have, and I don't want to say I'm making a deal, but like I'm embracing them for who they are, knowing that we're not the top option here, but I'd rather have them than not. And the tricky thing, and I'd love to get your take on this, is in my youth, right? It would have been like, you missed this game, you're gonna sit out the next one. Now they didn't miss it flippantly. They were doing something that ultimately is gonna benefit us in the next season and is gonna benefit them long term. They weren't out having a birthday party. So no, you're gonna if you're a starter, you're gonna start. If you're a player, you're gonna play.
Minutes didn't change.
Actually, we that's one thing we probably should have said that from the jump. Is recruiting trips. You're not missing. You're not missing practice. There's no consequence. If you're on a college recruiting trip.
Now, here's the fun part. Like years ago, someone tried to say that they were on a college recruiting trip, but I'd never talked to the coach. You're not getting recruited by that school, and everyone's lying. So keep it a buck. And whether you're getting recruited for school or for tic-tac-toe, whatever you're doing, I want to support, but keep it a buck.
We had a girl this year.
Yeah.
One of our captains went on a recruiting trip. And then we talked to the coach. We scheduled it. We looked at the schedule. She didn't want to miss practice.
It was 2 days.
She actually did not want to miss. Yeah. But we almost like, you have to go.
You have to go.
You gotta go. You can't miss an opportunity. You don't worry about your team's gonna be fine.
And ultimately, we want what they want. So if they want to be missing for something, like you said, like flippantly, then we're already on the wrong track.
Correct.
So if we're on the right track, there's conversations to be had. And those conversations I probably wouldn't have had 20 years ago. But like you said, there's things that 2 decades of life will teach you. But if we're on the same page, we all ultimately want the same thing. So there really isn't a conflict. I don't want my player to miss out on celebrating a milestone with her grandma after they've had some family things go on. I can't celebrate roller coasters, but I can celebrate maybe like I said, I hated being in that position, but I also understood.
And that's the key, right? It's ultimately the relationship matters more than the rule per se, and the willingness to have dialogue around finding a win-win versus it's me against you. And I think ultimately when we're more inexperienced, it's no.
More rigid.
Yeah, very much. And the world doesn't work that way, and y'all know that. And I think ultimately some spaces they probably do. Your Coach Jake in your real job, it's probably super rigid, but I'm sure there's also some gray and some flexibility that you got to. And you know what? While I have you, for those of you that don't know, Jake is a correctional officer, and I'm curious what you've learned in that space that you bring to the table and vice versa.
You know what? Honestly, I'm 28 years in as a correctional, and my basketball history playing for Boyd, who was the namesake gym that we coach in, and playing for Jerry Miller, playing for those dudes.
Solano College, Jerry Miller.
Yeah. Playing for them prepared me. It's kind of like why I do what I do now, because the impact those guys had on, especially Miller, on my being mentally tough and be able to deal with what I have to deal with on a daily basis. It almost made it, I don't want to say easy because it's a very dangerous job, but it allows me to make it look easy. And then, like you said, I take some of the stuff from in there and I take it to our spot where it's.
He's always like way ahead of the girls mentally. You know what I mean? Just like how, not that I don't want to equate our girls to inmates, but people do what we allow them to do. And so Jake's always mentally like us way ahead of whoever his coworkers are, whether it's inmate or whether it's our players. He's already 10 steps ahead where I'm like just following it step by step. He's usually like way ahead and thinks way ahead of the consequences or ahead of the situation.
So give me some specific examples where you found yourself bringing some of that to the table, because it's not a normal connection to say, all right, correctional officer working with inmates to working with high school girls, and I do the same stuff.
Yeah.
Chico with Brittany, was you open the door?
Oh, yeah. Besides me being super protective because I know what's out there, really, it's just the knowledge of how one little mistake can make you end up in a bad situation. I've talked to so many guys on that side, and I look at their records and they don't really have one. It's one mistake. And I'm like, dang, it's really that close to us me telling one of them, like, when you're out, really be conscious of what you're doing and who you're with, because it doesn't take much for something bad to go down and you end up on the wrong side and then you don't know how you got there.
Just like in a game, you make one mistake, don't compound it. Something as a person, don't make one mistake and then just compound it. To me, that's so simple. But how many people are in jail for one bad mistake? There's tons, or they get caught up in one thing.
And there's some really bad dudes in there.
Yeah.
So it's good. And then also dealing with them keeps me on my toes. So it makes me extra on my toes with our team. So even when they think that they're telling me something that they think that
like you said, going for,
I'm already like, I'm gonna let you finish your story, and then I'm gonna tell you exactly.
We're at a team camp out of town, and we're in the dorms, and freaking a girl, it's like 1 a.m, and Jake's just roaming the halls. That's what he does at work. He works graveyards. I don't know what they were thinking. And one of my ding dongs opens up the door, and she's jumped. She goes, Jake, and she's, I thought I heard a knock. I'm the only person in the hallway. Ain't no one knocking. Get back in your room. So it's like those type of things. He's always a correctional officer, even with the team. He's very protective. And the fact that he don't sleep at night is just good luck to them. If they want to, I'm sleeping just fine, but good luck to them if they're trying to go somewhere.
That's funny. All right, let me wrap up with this. And so this is it's become more of a cultural question in the times we live in, where everything is so polarized and you're not rewarded anymore for challenging your belief system. It's almost like an antithesis to what people want you to do. But I'm always curious how we are seeking out dissenting voice, how we're challenging our beliefs and changing our mind intentionally. And so what's something that you've recently changed your mind on where, you know what, I used to be really dug in over here. And actually, after further examination, I'm now over here. And here's why. And it doesn't have to be basketball related. Shit, I'd love to get a take from you as a correctional officer or you as a teacher or a mom or whatever. But I don't think we are encouraged to do that anymore, given where society is. And I'm always curious from leaders that have found success in the world, like how they're doing that and what examples they can share with others.
As a mom, I thought I would be a strict parent. I thought just like I was as a coach, I was a strict coach, and I thought I'd be a strict parent. And I learned that it's almost like you talked about earlier about the conceptualization of things. So I didn't have to be a strict parent with Jake and Tatum. I didn't have to be that. I really didn't. They didn't need their mom to be a strict parent. And so figuring out what quickly my children need or my players need, it might not be what I think I should be providing. So I thought I should be providing discipline, or I thought I should be providing structure in the beginning. And then now I'm like, and again, I think that those things are important. So those aren't great examples, but giving kids the autonomy. Here's the coloring book, but color however you want. And if you want to turn the page, but let's keep moving forward in your life and progressing and growing. And before, it would have been more of a linear growth. To me, it would have been like a ladder. And I've learned that it's not that way. It's definitely chutes and ladders sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And
It's like the stock market, coach.
Exactly. And so I think that's something that's been a big, it might sound small, but for me, that's been huge. And then some of it has to do with control too. But
one thing that I picked up, and I actually don't know if I picked it up corrections or if I picked it up with our team, but one thing that I made almost law now is I always ask, no matter what, how you doing?
Yeah.
And that has amazed me on how far that has gone on both sides, and it's law enforcement and with our girls, because especially when you're dealing with girls, you don't know what's going through their head. A lot of times they think the world is crashing down and they don't realize it's really not that bad.
They're too simple things.
It's really not that bad. And sometimes they just want a voice, they want their voice to be heard. And they just want to just talk. And it's not even like being there for a solution. It's just being there to listen. And I felt like that we have become better listeners.
What's your follow-up question when you get the standardized teenage answer of fine?
I'm more aggressive and he's more patient. So he'll be more patient. I'll be like, you don't seem fine. Sit down, spill it. What's going on? So I'm more aggressive with it because I can always sense it. Jake's the nice coach. And so they just pour it out. They'll spill it all. And I'm a fixer. He's a good listener.
And I'm really good at reading body language. And I know that came from being where I work. Because I did juveniles for 6 years first. So I dealt with kids first before I went to adults. So I had to learn. I had to learn how to read that. Basically that. No matter what, when you ask a kid if they're okay, they're going to say yes, or I'm fine, and I've learned to read body language. I was like, okay, there's something wrong. And I had to learn to find the approach to basically make them comfortable enough to pull it for them just to open up. And that's what she said with patience. I'm really patient, just sit there. And then eventually, if you give them enough time, they'll start speaking on it. And if you allow them to flow, it's all gonna come out.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. I appreciate that. All right. Hey, I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. Tell Eddie thanks for the connect, and looking forward to seeing y'all play at some point. But as I tell Eddie, I never leave Pebble Beach, so maybe you'll get down here at some point and I'll be able to watch.
We'll come visit.